6 p.m. in Manu, that is in the southwest region of the country. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. An 8-year-old boy has been beaten to near death by his own biological father for failing to succeed in his exams. The incident that occurred at a Dogbong neighborhood right here in the city of Douala has left many in shock due to the injuries spotted all over his body. Away from that, bishops in Cameroon continue to pray for peace in conflict-hit regions and across the world. The call was made during the annual assembly of bishops of Cameroon taking place in Mara, far north region of the country. And out of Cameroon, ex-church members of the Synagogue Church of All Nations in Lagos, Nigeria, accused late Pastor Temitope Abolungun Joshua, popularly known as TB Joshua, of rape, forced abortion and torture. The three-part documentary series of British Broadcasting Network BBC titled Disciples, the Court of TB Joshua was released on Monday. The entire content of this video will be yours in the course of this newscast. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details. Thank you so much for staying tuned to Equinoxe Television. You definitely made the right choice. An 8-year-old boy is currently seeking refuge at the 6th District Police Station in Douala. Brian Eric, as he is called, escaped from the house after he was repeatedly tortured by his own biological father for failing his exams. AC Lucy Liengu reports.
With injuries and scars all over his body, 8-year-old Brian Jr. is a victim of torture in the hands of his biological father. Little Brian lived with his parents in the Dogbong neighborhood, but life has been a living hell for him ever since he failed his exams. The wounds on my body are those I had when I was at Lokbong. Before coming here, this is because I failed my exams. My dad wants me not to fail. Unfortunately for me, I did. Reason had to beat me this way. In the early hours of Tuesday, 9th of January 2024, the residents of the New Bend neighborhood found him at a place called Denye Poto. The 8-year-old boy got missing while he was in search of his auntie's house. This morning I was in search of my auntie's house, but I got missing. I can't remember the road leading to her house, but I was there once with my mom. The population of New Bell denounced this act, which they term abominable, and they are urging the little boy's parents to take their responsibility and act maturely. It is bad to maltreat a child this way to the extent of traumatizing the child. It's an act of criminality. For someone to father a child and maltreat the child this way, it is bad. Preferably, you should gift the child to people who are in need, or better still, you can take the child to an orphanage. Meantime, little Brian is in the hands of the 6th Police District Station while investigations are on to locate his family members.
Still on our human interest page, since President Paul Biya ordered for the disbursement of a sum of 92 million francs CFA for victims of the Bankolo landslide, homeless survivors say they are yet to receive a dime of what was offered. They add that many of them are now stranded after they were chased out of the CPDM party house, where many of them are seeking refuge after the deadly landslide. They said the amount that was supposed to be shared to them was expected for them to use it to get a house for rent. We have details in this report done by Innocent Aze.
Homeless victims of the Bankolo landslide say they are yet to receive a dime from the state. Despite announcements was made, the president disbursed 92 million francs CFA meant for them and deceased victims. The qualifying news that went viral, they received money to leave their accommodation zone and rent a home as fake. We learned of the financial promises made. We await the fulfillment of those promises. No franc has been received by us. Authorities have not even approached us yet. We are waiting patiently to hear what they have to tell us. Notwithstanding, we feel frustrated, disappointed and abandoned.
Et puis nous nous sentons comme délaissés.
Only families who lost loved ones received the financial support of the head of state, being 2 million francs CFA per corpse. This was handed over to the families by Central Governor Nasiri Paul Biya, who assured homeless survivors at the Nkomkana Party House theirs will be handed soonest to enable them find a house. In the coming days, they will be handed money to get a home. While waiting, these homeless survivors continue to endure sufferings. We are suffering from this cluster. Our wish is that we are granted support to leave from here as soon as possible. They are still worried why the assistance of the government announced by Territorial Administration Minister Paula Tanganji delays.
Ici dans cette cour.
We keep expecting, hoping the promise wasn't a fake one.
Nous attendons le recasement. Nous croyons que ça n'a pas été une promesse vaine. C'est pourquoi nous attendons, quel que soit ce que nous traversons.
Since their arrival here, it is the Yaoundé 2 Council that has been taking care of them and ensuring they feed.
Inhabitants of Kolmitak in Douala 2 municipality now rely on doubtful sources of water to quench their thirst. Residents say since last week, their taps have not been flowing. Like in several localities of Cameroon, inhabitants of Kolmitak say they are living a veritable nightmare and since their taps went dry. Femi Armstrong Sandad tells us more about the struggle to get water in that neighborhood.
Mr. Jean-Etienne has been working at this car washing point situated at Zuimangto in the Kolmitak neighborhood of the Douala 2 municipality for 5 years. He is a family head and his family gets food thanks to the money gotten from this car washing activity. However, since Sunday, January 7, 2024, his family has not had food to eat as work has been grounded at the petty washing point. His washing points, like the entire neighborhood, does not have water, with taps dry, leaving inhabitants helpless.
It's 1 week that water not available in our quarter is painful. Please see this problem. Difficult to live without water, and when water is available, it's not clean. We cannot cook at home with it, only to wash clothes.
They have resorted to gutters to quench their thirst. Apart from water, the Kolmitak neighborhood is also faced with another chronic social problem.
Even water not available, we continue to pay our bill water. It's not normal. We have to use water and pay the bill, not to pay the bill when we don't have water.
It is the unfortunate reality of inhabitants of Kolmitak in the heart of the city of Douala. The helpless inhabitants say that they do not know for how long their nightmare will last. Kids in the area who manage to school every day join others in singing "Long Live the Republic of Cameroon" while wishing a short life to their problems.
And coming up next, the phenomenon of street children is still an issue to deal with in Cameroon. We went around the city of Douala to see what some young people who have been in the streets for several years are doing as they strive to return to normal life trend with the aid of the United Nations Development Programme and the Ministries of Social Affairs and Youth and Civic Education. Babla Jonathan reports.
Cleaning gutters in different parts of Cameroon's economic hub, Douala. It is part of their socio-economic reintegration process. They are street children. The United Nations Development Programme has documented the stories of over 2,000 street children in Douala, Yaoundé and Gaoundéré.
We have registered about 2,000, but there are definitely more. There are some that you don't see and you can't really register.
Within the framework of a project codenamed Cash for Work, they are put through a sustainable livelihood creation process. After over a month of work, they have earned a token of 50,000 francs CFA each. But according to the Deputy United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, resident representative, Martin Hart Hansen, neither the work nor the money is the most important thing here.
They can see that doing this kind of work is going to allow them to make money, and it's making that money that's allowing them to get off the street, right? So it's not so much about cleaning the gutters or whatever work they're doing, it's the fact that they're willing to work. And that's the key here, that these young people have capacity, they are willing to work, to make money, and they're showing us, they're showing the world that they are a resource that the city of Douala can rely on to make a change in Douala, but also make a change in their own lives.
The process is expected to completely take them off the streets into normal life, and they told us that it is their greatest expectation to be able to live a normal life void of homelessness, wandering on the streets, drug addiction, and other ills.
And now we talk religion. His Grace Andrew Kia, President of the National Episcopal Conference, urges bishops of Cameroon and Christians to pray for the return of peace and other challenges affecting the nation. He was speaking during the annual seminar of the National Episcopal Conference ongoing in Marwa in the Far North region. Greater details of what was said in this report done by Malaglory.
A prayer for the return of peace in Cameroon, especially in the crisis-hit regions of the Northwest, Southwest and the Far North regions, was offered during the National Episcopal Conference, which started on Sunday, January 7 in Marwa. His Grace Andrew Kia, the Archbishop of the Bamenda Archdiocese.
Our message is simple. Just as Jesus Christ came into this world as the light to scatter the darkness of this world, so the bishops are telling all the Christians that we are supposed to be the light. And secondly, we are coming to reflect on the Synodal Church, which is on mission.
For the 47th Annual Assembly, bishops in Cameroon convened at the Our Lady of Assumption Cathedral for a Mass. This was officiated by a host of bishops while praying for a meeting which aims at discussing issues related to the evangelization of the church in the country. The Bishop of Marwa Mokolo, His Lordship Bruno Ateba, reminded Christians
to be apostle of charity, unity, love, peace, and reconciliation in our country.
The Eucharistic celebration was attended by the Governor of the Far North region, Mijiawa Bakari, alongside other government officials. The 2024 National Episcopal Conference, officially launched on January 9, will run till the 13th of January.
And out of Cameroon, mixed reactions have trailed a report detailing how the late founder of the Synagogue Church of All Nations Cone, Pastor Temitope Balongun Joshua, popularly known as Steve Joshua, reportedly raped, tortured, and subjected some church members to solitary confinement. In other news, Niger's military tribunal has granted provisional release to Mohamed Bazoum Salam, the 23-year-old son of ousted President Mohamed Bazoum, from house arrest in the capital, Niamey. A roundup of these stories with our reporter, Cedric Chakutio.
A lengthy video divided into 3 episodes and available on YouTube features testimonies from former disciples and church workers making a serious allegation against the late prophet Tumulto Balingum Joshua. Witnesses, mainly coming from the United States, United Kingdom, Namibia and South Africa, claim they were manipulated and physically abused by TB Joshua, who was forcing them to stay with him for up to 14 years. Most of these accusations are refused by his followers, who say they do not trust these investigations. Elsewhere in Niger, Salem Bazoum, the son of Niger's president Mohamed Bazoum, overthrown on July 26, 2023 by coup d'etat, detained until now with his father, was released earlier on Monday and is in Togo. According to a decision of the Niamey Military Court consulted by IFP, Salem Bazoum benefited from provisional release from the investigating judge of the military court on January 8, 2024. And in France, The Minister of National Education, Gabriel Attal, was appointed Prime Minister by French President Emmanuel Macron. Attal replaces Elizabeth Borne, who resigned earlier on Monday. According to French President, the government reshuffle is aimed at injecting new dynamism into the 5-year term. Matignon Gabriel Attal, 34 years old, becomes the youngest prime minister in French history.
And now we talk sports. An international friendly match between Cameroon and Zambia ended with a 1-1 score. The first goal was scored by the Zambian team at the 11th minute, and the second came in from Cameroon at the 9th minute. That's 9 minutes later. The friendly ends Cameroon's preparatory training in Saudi Arabia. They're expected to arrive Ivory Coast in some few days or today. Away from that, Cameroonians coming to watch matches of the African Nations Cup won't have difficulties in Yamoussoukro, as 2 fan zones have been constructed for Cameroonians to comfortably watch matches of the Indomitable Lions if they can't make it to the stadium. Smajikan Gabriel visited some of these fan zones within Yamoussoukro and put together the following report.
Fans who can't make it to the different stadia hosting the AFCON won't have any major worries, as fan zones are being set up within Yamoussoukro. For the Cameroonian supporters coming to Ivory Coast, the Akwaba Cameroonian fan base found at Maki Baoule at the Asabu neighborhood of Yamoussoukro will be the point of convergence. As the fan zone takes its shape, they will be opportune to watch the matches on large giant screens. The Akwaba Cameroon fan base has been decorated with the players called up for the Ivory Coast expedition. Not far from the Akwaba Cameroonian fan base, it's another spot being prepared for Cameroonians coming to Yamoussoukro, owned by a Cameroonian called Olivier. It's one of the most popular places at the time. It's called Asabo in the Baoule roundabout. Here, we have Cameroonian dishes like ndole, mbongo, and the local dish of Ivory Coast known as acheke. The biggest fan zone in Yamoussoukro will be that which is still under construction at the Pope John Paul II Esplanade. This will be the biggest fan zone of the Nations Cup in Ivory Coast, as we met technicians on the ground doing last-minute installation at the site. 11,000 fans can sit at a go at the fan zone. It's an esplanade that was inaugurated by Pope Jean Paul II. We have gastronomy, business exchange, and musical performances. In fact, the fan zone will be like the stadium for those who can make it. As to the kickoff of the 34th edition of the AFCON, the members of the local organizing committee and some Cameroonians are doing everything possible to make the tournament a memorable one.
And still with news related to the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations, last-minute renovations works are currently taking place at the Yamoussoukro airport few minutes before the various delegations arrive Ivory Coast. Ahead of the arrival of the Indomitable Lions in Yamoussoukro on Wednesday, the general coordinator of the national football teams, Benoit Abgois, was at the airport for last-minute touches. Our special envoy to Yamoussoukro, Smajikan Gabriel, once more reports.
Situated approximately 20 kilometers from the city town, the Yamoussoukro airport is gradually taking its shape as teams begin arriving in view of the 34th edition of the African Nations Cup. With the aid of a hidden camera, Equinoxe TV crew that was at the airport was able to pick the general coordinator of the national football teams, Benoit Angwa, who came to make last-minute negotiations before the arrival of the Indomitable Lions come Wednesday. Benoit Angwa was taken round the airport facility by the head of the infrastructure, who gave directives on how the players will be received when they touch down. It will be at a makeshift tent that all officials will be kept for controls before they are transported to their different hotels by the vehicles provided by the local organizing committee. At the time we arrived at the Yamoussoukro airport, some renovation works were still going on as they prepare to begin welcoming different delegations beginning this Tuesday. Group D teams, amongst them Cameroon, Senegal, Guinea, and the Gambia, will all use the Yamoussoukro airport.
And that's it for the first part of news. Talking Point is up next. Tonight on Talking Point, we'll be discussing about the situation of street children in Cameroon, and as guest, I have Martin Hart Hansen. He is the Deputy Resident Representative of the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, in Cameroon. Good evening. It is a pleasure having you on Talking Point tonight. Could you please tell us what statistics and information does the UNDP has as far as the phenomenon of street children is concerned in Cameroon?
So, you know, there are many different numbers out there. What I can say is that in this initiative, in this project, in the three cities that we are working in, we have registered roughly about 2,000 street youth. But there are numbers that range from other sources that range all the way up to maybe 10,000, depending on how it's defined and so on. So we have registered about 2,000, but there are definitely more. There are some that you don't see and you can't really register. But I would say for this project, 2,000 we have registered, but there are more out.
You certainly have been speaking to some of these street children. What have they been telling you, and what have you identified as enabling factors that is pushing them to the streets?
Again, many different factors that get these kids to live on the streets. This can be issues in their home, for example, violence at home, for example, that makes them want to leave. It can be lack of opportunities in the villages where they live. They want to seek opportunities elsewhere, so they move to a big city like Douala in the hope of finding work there, but maybe aren't successful. It can be drug issues. They've unfortunately got issues with addiction to drugs or alcohol. It can be a range of issues, and it really we really need to look at each individual young person to support them with whatever has brought them to the street, but because no two stories are the same, but there are a couple of issues that are common. One thing that we have seen, especially here in Douala, is a lot of young people coming from northwest and southwest, pushed here by the conflict in those regions, and so basically seeking safety, and then ending up living on the street, and perhaps even more vulnerable situation living on the.
Now, what are the dangers to which these children are exposed to on the streets? What are some of these dangers?
I mean, on the streets, for many of them, obviously, violence. Some of the girls are forced into prostitution, for example, to make ends meet. Big risks for infections, illness. So, I mean, and even harassment from the general public. It's definitely not an easy life for kids living on the street. So they face dangers and risks every single day, and it's really hard for them and hard for us to see them go through these things.
In collaboration with the Ministries of Social Affairs and Youth and Civic Education, the UNDP is implementing a program geared at bringing these children out of the streets and reintegrating them in normal life trend. Can you tell us more about this program?
Yeah, so the project is really to give these young people a chance. We have worked with roughly about 500 young people across the three cities, both in terms of giving them psychosocial support, some basic skills and so on, but also to put them to work so that they can make some money. And what we have noticed is that these young men and women are really dedicated and want to work. They want to change their lives. And so this project is about giving them the opportunity to change their lives. It's a close partnership between the ministries, UNDP, and the municipality of Douala and Yaoundé and Gaoundéré, and it's that partnership that needs to continue, because this is not an issue that UNDP can solve on its own. It's not one that the ministries can solve on their own, or the city administration. So we've come together to really try and help give these young people a chance, and to show the rest of the population that these kids exist, and these are good kids, that they are willing to work hard, that they're not all criminals and drug users and bad people, but they're most of them are actually really dedicated young people. So that's what this project really is about.
And now, how many have you already taken out of the streets in Douala, Yaoundé, Gaoundéré within the context of this project? And what exactly are you doing to give them the chance to reintegrate in the normal life train?
So we worked with, we registered about 2,000 in the three cities. Of those 2,000, about 500 so far have been through the program, which consists of both some basic sort of skills training, psychosocial support and training, and then actual work. So we have had these young people out on the streets of Douala, for example, where they've been helping to clean up the streets. They've been cleaning some of the drains along the roads, which is hard work and it's dirty work, but these young men and women are really dedicated and have shown that they are willing to get down and get dirty to get the money that we then pay them for their work. So that's what they've been going through for the past month, and all of them that I have spoken to over the past 2 days have said very clearly that they want to continue. How can they continue? Part of the program is also to help them set up small businesses at the end of the program. So for the moment, we have done so with I think about 10 of the women here in Douala who've been provided with some basic equipment for them to set up a small business. That could be a small tailoring business, a small food business, and so on. And the hope or the plan is that that will also be something that we can offer to the males, to the men, young men. But for now, the work has really been about cleaning up Douala to so that everybody can see that they are actually making a difference.
And after they are taken out of the streets, is there any follow-up to ensure that they don't go back to the streets?
I mean, we now have these young men and women registered in our systems, and as far as possible, we will continue to follow up with them and to engage them. At the moment, the biggest challenge to continue is the funding, because it's not obviously something that neither they or anybody else will do for free. So we're looking to strengthen that partnership between the city of Douala, our partners in the government, the Ministry of Social Affairs, the Ministry of Youth Affairs, and then see how we can raise resources both from the government but also from our partners in the private sector. We hope that some of the big companies, for example in Douala, would be interested in providing funding so that we can continue this program. We want to not only follow up with the young people that we have worked with already, we want to involve more young people. There's no doubt that there is an endless amount of work. There are drains along every single street in Douala, for example, and all of these can benefit from some cleaning. And there's also no doubt that there's a lot of young people from the street who are willing to work. So the last piece of that puzzle is really the money to be able to pay for this program to continue, and we are committed, along with the government and the municipality of Douala, to work together to find resources to continue this. We can't guarantee that every single young person who's been through our program will remain off the street, but we can commit to doing everything possible to help them get a chance to succeed in life.
Martin Hart Hansen, Deputy Resident Representative of the UNDP Cameroon. And we take this short note in sport. Senegal arrives Yamoussoukro today at 9 p.m. Cameroonian time and 8 p.m. Yamoussoukro time. They will be the first in Group D to arrive the base. Senegal and Cameroon will share the same hotel in the course of the Africa Cup of Nations competition. That will put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for staying with me on this edition of the news. Stay in the company of Pierre Labredieu with the program Equinoxe Soir. Have a wonderful evening.